Are there any public comments?
I have not received any public comment on this item.
All right. I will seeing none, I will bring this public comment period. The public hearing is now closed. I will now ask again each council member if there are any comments for deliberation on this item. Council member, let's start from the other side. Council member Overton. No. Council member Harris.
No.
Council member Purdock.
I think Vice Mayor, he asked the question that I had, but not this time.
Vice Mayor Sloden?
No additional comments.
All right, and I really have none. This is pretty straightforward. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-19, accepting the Cannabis Equity Grant from the Governor's Office of Economic Development and Business, and authorize the city manager to sign the grant agreement.
Motion is,
Second that.
you were beat out. Motion was made by Council Member Harris and seconded by Council Member Overton. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Councilmember Overton? Aye. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Purdock?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Slutin?
Aye.
Mayor Kramer?
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Moving on to item number 12, amend fiscal year 2019-20 adopted budget to include grant revenue of $98,890.43 awarded from the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, resolution number 2020-20. City Manager Flora, would you introduce?
I will introduce Administrative Services Director Swanson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council members. As I explained in the prior agenda item, this item is in regards to the Cannabis Equity Grant. The adopted current fiscal year budget would require amendment to accept the unanticipated revenue of $98,890.43 and authorize the appropriation of said funds. Specific purchases needing council approval will be brought back to the council upon receipt of the funds. So staff recommends your council adopt resolution 2020-20, amending the current fiscal year budget to include the grant revenue.
Thank you, Administrative Services Officer Swanson. That one's even tougher to get through. Are there any questions by council, starting with Council Member Overton, Council Member Harris, Council Member Purdock?
The next step.
And Vice Mayor Sloden?
None. No comment.
And I have no comments. Administrative Services Officer Swanson, is there any public comments?
I have not received any public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Public comment period or public discussion is over. We'll bring it back to council. Council Member Purdock, do you have any?
No comments.
And Council Member Harris? None. Council Member Overton? And Vice Mayor Sloden?
No additional comments.
I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve resolution 2020-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake amending the fiscal year 2019-2020 adopted budget to include adjustment for an unanticipated grant revenue.
Okay, motion has been made by Vice Mayor Sloden and seconded by Council Member Overton. I'm going to go back to Madam Clerk. I'm sorry. May we please have a roll call?
Council Member Overton? Aye. Council Member Harris?
Aye.
Council Member Purdock?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Slutin?
Aye.
And Mayor Kramer?
Aye. Motion passes. Pardon me? All right, moving on to item number 13. So it's got the ratify and authorize the city manager's purchase of a modular office building for the animal control facility. It just goes on and on. And is that City Manager Flora? Are you going to do that yourself? You're going to introduce Chief White, aren't
I
you?
am.
Chief White.
You can recognize him.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. As you'll recall, back in April, we brought before you several items related to the animal shelter. One of them was a modular office building, which you reluctantly approved us to move forward with a lease. But we also heard loud and clear the interest in trying to purchase a building. So we went back and his official name is Lieutenant Hobbs, but I like to call him Chief Negotiator Hobbs. He was able to work out a deal with the modular office company to actually sell it to us reluctantly to do so and not have to wait until the end of a lease. However, doing so, we had to act in kind of an unusual way. So normally for this type of purchase price, we'd bring it before you. In this case, we actually had to take action through the city manager. So we're asking you to ratify that action and approve it. In this case, I think you'll be happy to know that we're able to get the price of the building down to $37,427.15, plus tax, of course. We still are working on the ramp system, so we'll either purchase the ramp system. We're also asking the contractor, who today we had our first, or actually our pre-construction meeting with, to come up with a proposal for a concrete ramp, which may be something cheaper than getting the prefabricated one installed. So in this case, again, we're asking for the action is for you to ratify and authorize the city manager's purchase of the office building from Mobile Modular Corporation for the animal control facility. And it is very, almost the same as what we described before in terms of a sales type office building with the rooms inside of it, et cetera. We do have to do a little bit of cleanup to it because they're not leasing it to us, but we're comfortable with doing that with existing staff resources. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Chief White. Councilmember Overton?
Great job.
Councilmember Harris?
Yeah, I really appreciate you moving forward with the direction and accomplishing a sale as opposed to a lease. Very much appreciated.
Councilmember Purdock?
Oh, I concur, and I'd like to thank the chief negotiator. Well done.
Vice Mayor Slotin?
Just what I think it's a good deal for the ramps. Chief White, you might look at KEC. They have numerous ramping systems, aluminum and stuff like that, that you might be able to find out how they got it done. But for the rest, I have no comments. Thank you for doing this, Chief Negotiator Hobbs.
Yes, and that is actually, that's the style of the one that we have pricing on, but we believe we may be able to get a bit better deal if we go to the concrete,
Okay,
but otherwise it's exactly
Just
like that.
making a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Chief Negotiator Hobbs, you did a good job. Anytime you can save us 30 grand, that's a good thing. Are there any public comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have not received any public comments on this item.
Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public comment time and bring it back to council. Again, I'll start down with Councilmember Purdock.
No other comments, sir?
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Overton. Vice Mayor Slotin.
None additional comments.
I'm just glad it's over. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-21, ratifying and authorizing city manager's purchase of the modular office building from Mobile Modular Corporation for the animal control facility.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Harris and seconded by Councilmember Purdock. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Councilmember Overton? Aye. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Purdock?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Slotin?
Aye.
Mayor Kramer?
Aye. Motion passes. All right, moving right along to item number 14, and which is award of construction contract for the Austin Park restroom improvement project. I think there's a typo in my thing.
There is.
You're not recommending that the animal control facility, but rather the restroom facility, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Okay, Mr. City Manager, are you making the presentation on this, or are you passing it on to somebody on the screen over there?
No, I'm making the presentation. Mr. Schwartz will address any questions that I can't answer.
All right. You thought we'd forgotten you were there, didn't you, Mr. Schwartz?
He wants it there.
Go ahead, Mr.
Okay, so as the council's aware, the plans for the Austin Park project did not include any renovations to the public bathrooms. They are in need of some improvement, and so has been our intention for a while to move this forward and accomplish this before opening the park. There is a non-competitive grant award that the city should be receiving a minimum of $200,000 from the state for park improvements. It's been my intention to use those funds for this project. For whatever reason, probably 20 requests for information from the state, as well as involving our state legislators to try and get some information. State Parks has still not released these funds to us or given us any final information. And so what I'm recommending here is that we basically utilize some of our Series A bond funds, go ahead and get the project done and ready for the opening of the rest of the park, and then we'll pay that back with those funds later on. And so we have, as I mentioned before, R&R Pacific Construction is the contractor that's doing the park. They're interested in this additional project. We've appreciated work with them and feel like that they've given us fair prices, and so we asked them to bid this project. And so our request is that we move forward with these improvements, $68,041.25. This would include a new roof, new doors, all new interior fixtures, new paint, the works. So it'll basically be like a new bathroom facility. And in reviewing this with our city engineer, we feel like it's a great price, and recommend you move forward.
Thank you, City Manager Laura. Councilmember Purdock, do you have questions?
Excited by the project. It's about time we redid that bathroom.
Well said. Councilmember Harris.
Oh, I think you know how much I wanted this to take place, so I'm very grateful to see this. Thank you.
Councilmember Overton.
So I'm assuming we're not putting porcelain inside these bathrooms, correct? We're going to go
No,
with
it's
the metal.
all stainless steel, yes.
Yeah. And is this for both bathrooms, one across in here?
No, well, no, just the one here in this side of the park.
Next to the flagpole.
Okay. Are they rebuilding it? I mean, 68,000 seems an awful lot for just that one small facility.
Well, if you look at the line item breakdown, I feel like I was hopeful that maybe we could do it for 50, but completely new roof, metal roof that'll match the bandstand, all new fixtures, new partitions. I don't know if there's anything our city engineer wants to add, but if you look at the breakdown, we feel like the costs are reasonable.
I don't have a breakdown,
Paint
so
and
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
So
see
that's
that.
why I was like, it seemed like an awful lot. Metal roofs are expensive, so I do know that, and the stainless steel inside is expensive. That's why I was wanting to know. But it would have been nice if we could get the ones across the way too. So, and again, I hope we're going to paint it a better color on the outside than what it is. What color are you guys looking at?
Yeah, we're looking to go with some type of lighter color, and I have reached out to some local artists to see if we might be able to do a mural on the side of it as well. So
That would be really great, but because that color that's on there just really is. I mean,
It's
I
too
know,
dark,
I know we
yeah.
don't want to, but it just really looks bad. And since our park's going to be nice and pretty, I think a brighter, better pastel color or something like that on there that kind of blends in with what we're trying to bring in here. So, okay, I just wanted to say, okay, I didn't have a breakdown, so I didn't know. So, okay, thank you.
Always good to
If
ask.
you want, I can run through. There's a couple items I think are worth mentioning. in addition to the roof and fixtures, and that was one of the items that we focused on was security and having a remote locking system for the doors so that we can better control access to the bathrooms at all hours of the days, and also significantly increase the lighting in and around the area, in trying to discourage and prohibit vandalism as much as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. That was good information, actually, and it shows that it's much more than, well, just the security on those doors. I imagine those are pretty expensive. Vice Mayor Sloden.
I have no comments. I'm glad it's going to be painted a little lighter. That brown is ugly. But I also want to make sure that we have in the marketing committee talked numerous times of putting murals on there, and I would like to see that. I don't know if there's anything that needs to be done to get those people put something up. That would be great. I like to see some kind of mural on.
I agree with that. It'd be a great idea.
Yeah, so related to the marketing committee, I just reached out trying to see who might be interested in doing something and talk some ideas, but as soon as I get some proposals or ideas, then we would bring that to the marketing committee for review.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. Madam Clerk, any public comments?
I have not received any public comment on this item.
Thank you. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Mr. Purdock, do you have any further questions or comments?
No additional comments.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah, I have one additional comment. I think that this would be a perfect opportunity for us to utilize our Wi-Fi in the park to incorporate a video surveillance system, not internally, obviously, for quality control issues, but more for external access. And I think it would also be unique if there was a way maybe to involve PEG. I know they have funds for such things. Maybe they could be involved in it so that they could potentially live stream a video footage from the top of the restroom out into the sunset. And that might be something they could actually live stream on their channel. That might be interesting for people. And also during events, if somebody can't attend an event, if somebody's homebound, for example, they could tune in to watch the parade come through, that sort of thing take place. And I just think this would be a good opportunity to incorporate something like that if we could.
Mr. Purdock, you might have some thoughts on that.
As soon as we get to the reports, I'll get to that.
Okay. Ms. Overton, you see I'm not going council member this time through.
I think actually that's a very good idea, because if they put it up there where it can be turned, or like, the ones that turn, then when we have the parade, instead of worrying about somebody being down there trying to, they just have the cameras right there. So actually that's a great idea. So, but that's all.
Sounds like a job for Chief White, our surveillance expert. Vice Mayor Sloden.
No additional comments.
Okay. I have no additional comments. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing a mural on the walls and all of the things to make this a first-class bathroom, restroom facility to further enhance a first-class park that we're going to have. I think it's going to be wonderful. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with R&R Construction for construction of the Austin Park Restrooms Improvement Project in the amount of $68,041.25, and authorizing the city manager to approve up to a 10% for additional unforeseen construction amendments.
Motion is made by Councilmember Overton.
Second.
And seconded by Councilmember Harris. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Overton?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Purdock?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Slutin?
Aye.
Mayor Kramer?
Aye. Motion passes. And that concludes our items. We'll go back now, move on to city manager and council member reports. City Manager Flora, can you lead off, please?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I have several items. As all of you mentioned and were likely aware, the Buzz the Fuzz Challenge was brought to our front steps this week, and Fire Chief Cepeda performed the honors on Chief White. He was able to establish a GoFundMe account and support the project that you'll see around town soon, showcasing Lower Lake High School seniors. So it'll be here along Lakeshore Drive. I'm not sure if there's going to be any on Olympic Drive or not, and then there'll be some, I believe, in downtown Lower Lake as well. So, and then in addition to that, because the goal was exceeded, the additional funding will be going to Highland Senior Center Meals on Wheels program. So appreciate Chief White's willingness to accept the sheriff's challenge and his leadership in rallying the community around those programs. And I still do a double take every time I see him. Looks a little different, but I'm sure he'll be back to normal soon.
I think Chief Cepeda might have a new career after he retires.
He's very meticulous doing the cut, as you might expect.
Oh, he's very meticulous on pretty much everything.
So a couple of other facilities related things. Chief White wanted me to share that with the animal control project, demolition and site improvements out there will begin May 18th. Actually, our crews are going to be doing some work on the old office trailer that they have out there, and then the office delivery is expected towards the end of this month, and kennels will be delivered in mid-July. And then he also wanted me to mention that dispatcher Miranda Logan completed her dispatch training program. We talked a little bit about Austin Park with the restroom project, but the overall project is coming along well. There was a little hiccup. Some of the bandstand structure was started, but there was a bracket that was incorrect, and so the new bracket will be arriving on Monday, and then they'll be able to finish that project, put the ceiling and the metal roof on. Next week, they'll also be installing the playground equipment, completing that phase over there. I believe like the tennis court and basketball court resurfacing was completed this week. And then the week after next is when they should be doing the paving and completing the parking lots. So we're getting close. Some portions of the lights, I think I might have told you before that those did come in early. Portions of the lights came in early. Some portions of them will not be here until June. And so it will be a little while before that part can be completed, unfortunately. We had a special meeting a few weeks ago to approve the purchase agreement for several properties on 36th Avenue for housing. We had a virtual oversight board meeting this morning. The oversight board approved their part of that project. We were a little worried because the developer had been in contact with had went kind of dark and hadn't been able to talk to him for a while. He had some pretty serious health problems, but he gave me a call this afternoon. He's back on the mend and ready to get started. So all good news on that. Austin Resort, we have, as you know, we have a letter of interest on that property. I have received a draft purchase agreement from the developer on that. And so I'm going to be working on getting that back before the council for consideration and approval, and then on to the oversight board as well. But they were very receptive to the conditions that the council brought up about making sure that there's a reverter clause and all that. So I think everything's on the right track on that agreement, and hopefully you'll be having it before you soon for approval. The Augulin Canyon property that had been purchased for the Public Works Yard, we have listed that. It's currently for sale and listed on the MLS, so we'll see what interest we get on that. And we are working on our negotiations with the county for some property out off of Pond Road. They're very agreeable to working with us on this. We're just trying to figure out exactly what's the best site for that, and so look for that to be coming back as well.
I have a question while you're right there. What's going to happen with Animal Control's new facilities going in and the overlap with the corporation yard equipment and everything being in there? Is there going to be a conflict between those two?
Well, there's been a conflict between those two for a while, so they're going to have to continue working well together for a little while longer.
Are you guys going to play well?
We are actually sharing the office. So the office trailer, there's a section that will be dedicated to them. But it's getting cramped.
Yeah, it's going to get tighter than it already is, but we're going to figure it out.
Okay. I can't wait.
We had our first planning commission meeting of the year this week. We didn't have any business for a while, so Commissioner McCarrick was sworn in virtually, and then the planning commission considered the project that we're calling the Dam Road Retail Center project near Carl's Jr. So that project was approved by the planning commission, and so we're looking forward to drive-through coffee shop and some other retail in that area. That project also includes a large sign for the businesses at that property, as well as other businesses in that retail center. As you know, the sign that was put up a number of years ago is barely visible because of vegetation in the Caltrans right-of-way. We've had a number of conversations with Caltrans about that, and they are not swayed by the need to trim their vegetation for our signage, and so they basically sent me an application for a new sign and said that's your option. So anyway, this will be nice to provide a lot more visibility. That's one of the complaints that those businesses up there have, is that there's not as much visibility as there should be along Highway 53. So we're excited about that project moving forward. It's expected to be in 2 phases, so the drive-through coffee shop on the corner will be the first phase. They're working on identifying tenants for the building that would have probably retail and another drive-through quick service food of some type just to the north of that. I wanted to let you know that the tax collector and the county had identified the end of May as a date for a tax sale. I found out this week that the tax collector has decided to delay that sale, hopefully in October. Maybe the sale will come out, but at this point there's no firm date for a tax sale in 2020. We are hopefully in the final throes of our conversion to a new finance system, which, as you know, was approved by the council, I don't know, probably a year and a half, if not longer ago. So a lot of work to get across the finish line, but getting close to that and really looking forward to the efficiency that that's going to create for staff, as well as all of our internal ability to access financial information, and tied in with that, it's going to greatly expand our ability to share financial information with the council and the public as well. So still several pieces to come together on that, but a large part of the system should be live next week. We are working on our budget development for next year. As we've talked about before, the budget situation is a little scary. We're taking a very cautious approach. Many cities across the nation and the state of California are implementing furloughs or layoffs. In fact, 71% of cities with a population of less than 25,000 are anticipating that they may have to do one or both of those things. All cities are projected in California about a $6.7 billion shortfall in revenues related to COVID-19. There has been a little bit of movement in the last week or so at the federal and state level for some relief for cities less than 500,000 that haven't received any direct relief so far. So we'll see how those negotiations play out. We did receive projections related to sales tax from our sales tax consultant. Talked through those projections with them last week at length, and currently our general fund 1% Bradley Burns sales tax is actually projected to be relatively flat into next year, which is a good thing. What we're seeing is some of our retailers are seeing more business activity than some of those that have had to close down. And so we're optimistic that that portion of our sales tax will not suffer from a significant loss. The biggest hurdle related to that is, as we've talked about before, smaller businesses' ability to defer their sales tax payments for 12 months. We're expecting in the general fund that to be approximately a $90,000 hit if all of them take advantage of that program. I'm sure all of them will not, but you know, there's also the risk that so that's kind of a cash flow issue. We should get the money back once they pay. They would be entering into a payment plan. But some of our local businesses, you know, may suffer and not reopen back up, or they may open back up, defer their sales taxes, and then not be successful, and so that money would not be able to be recouped. So the plan is in the budget to budget conservatively and budget that $90,000 reduction, make the cuts necessary. I do have a little bit of optimism that some of our businesses are seeing more growth than what our projections allow for, and so things may be a little better, but you know, we can't count on that until we see at least a quarter of actual numbers, which is going to be a little while. Measure V is projected to have around $125,000 reduction, which would result in you know, about half of that, about $72,000 reduction in Measure P, and that's just related to the economic environment. Almost entirely related to a reduction in auto sales. I've talked about this before. So, you know, we're seeing a lot more online sales, which is helping pick up the gap because we do get some sales tax from that. And so really it is related to auto sales. There's a lot of deals out there. Maybe people will still buy a few vehicles, but it's likely to hit us. And then in addition, you know, I mentioned the general fund deferment. If everyone takes advantage of that same program, Measure V is likely to see an additional $98,000 reduction next fiscal year, and which that would be about a $50,000 reduction in Measure P's revenues. So again, we will base our budget assuming the worst and that happens, and hopefully several months down the road the picture is not quite that severe, and we're able to make some positive adjustments in the budget, but we definitely can't count on it at this point. At this time, TOT is another big piece, probably a 20% reduction in our overall revenues this year and next fiscal year. You may know, if you're driving around town, some of our larger hotels do have a lot of essential workers staying in them, and so they will still be submitting TOT payments to us. So that's likely to help some of that dip. But overall, you know, while it's very challenging to navigate some of these situations, I do feel fortunate that everything I've seen at this point is that there's a lot of other folks that have much heavier reliance either on TOT or sales tax in their local budgets, and those are the ones that are going to be seeing more significant layoffs or furloughs. We will continue to budget conservatively and make sure that we take as few risks as possible until we see how this works out. But there's a lot of municipalities across the state that you know, are seeing some very dramatic reductions in personnel, and fortunately it doesn't look like that we're going to need to take those steps. So just some other COVID related things. The Economic Development Corporation, we've been working with public health and in trying to help encourage and provide resources to local businesses so they can be as prepared as possible when it's time for them to open up. As I'm sure all of you have seen, there's some movement in that direction now. And so there's kind of a self-certification program that businesses, public health has now released some forms that businesses can access and would kind of develop their plan on how they plan to open up safely. They can send that and have it be reviewed by public health, but they'll then self-certify that they are doing all of these things, and the EDC is working with public health that will provide kind of a window sticker that they can put in their businesses that it's kind of, we've branded it the We Care pledge, and something that's visible that as a customer walks into that business, they can be assured that that business owner is doing everything they can to make sure that the risk of spreading COVID there is minimized. So hopefully that's something that does help our businesses as they begin to open up. You've seen some of the press come out starting yesterday that the public health officer has decided to open Clear Lake to boats and lake traffic starting Saturday morning. So in line with those orders, we plan to open Redbud Park and Thompson Harbor on Saturday morning. So the lake opening is intended to be for Lake County residents only and not encourage tourists to come and utilize our lake. Just a reminder that boat occupants should be individuals or persons from the same family unit that have been sheltering together, and then fishermen or others using the docks at Redbud Harbor must practice social distancing. So with that, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. Councilmember Overton, you want to go first?
I have a question here too. The lamplighter, are we utilizing that, and how many if we are, and how's that working out?
So yeah, the county received some funding through Project Room Key, and this is intended to house high-risk homeless individuals in hotels, and so the lamplighter was, I think, really the only hotel that they were able to connect with that was interested in participating in this program. I missed the last couple of update calls this week, but so there was room for, I think, 14 individuals at that facility. I'm not aware that they hit capacity unless Chief, they still around like 8 or 10 there.
As of today, that we had 5 open rooms, and they were looking to fill those.
So we collaborated quite a bit with the county on this. We really stressed the need to have some a solid ops plan in place and monitoring and so forth, so that we didn't, run into a lot of issues. So far, I think it's went pretty well, and I don't think PD's had to respond out there for anything significant. They had to have some people that came in and then kind of refused to follow the rules, and so they did take, I think, a pretty hard line on who's there. I mean, it's easy to fill the place up with folks, but they wanted to make sure that it was really strict kind of on the program requirements, and the folks that had the need the most had the availability. So
how are they getting into, how do they get into that in the first place?
Well, they can be referred by a number of different agencies. I think they can be referred by the hospitals. Some of them were referred from the congregate shelter in Lakeport. If they were known to have health issues there, it was better for them to be in this type of environment. So several of them were referred from that facility.
Yeah, because I was kind of curious as to how that was, working out. So great, thank you. I appreciate that update.
They aren't acting as a hotel in the traditional sense, so we're not getting TOT or any of that out of it.
I don't expect that's going to happen. There is no reference to that in the agreement that the county entered into with them. So I don't know. That remains to be seen. I have thought about talking to the county about this, but I mean, they rented the whole facility, the county did. But the TOT issue was not part of what was specified in the agreement.
And it was at a dramatically reduced rate.
So they rented the whole facility there, and so they've rented it more for a permanent housing for a period of time?
Temporary housing.
2 months. So it's become temporary housing. It's not being used as a hotel, so there's no requirement of TOT. Is that correct?
Well, technically, I believe according to our TOT ordinance, they should still be paying. But
Getting it out of them is going to be difficult.
It is an emergency. So,
Okay. Now,
my report? Okay, so been busy doing some grant writing for not only just the senior center, but for some things that will help the whole county. I've been was asked to file a grant for animal food for our county because nobody seemed to be willing to take that on as a responsibility. And since we did start a PAWS program with the seniors, some of the other seniors have picked it up, but it was something that we can benefit even the city and the county and stuff if we get it. I was on the phone to them talking about yesterday, kind of getting some clarifications on what we can do here. So I think I've got it set up if we get the grant for food storage and everything, which would help our animal control, because I understand we're spending almost $2,000 a month on food just with our shelter, so I'm sure the county's probably spending more than that. So I hope that would be something that we can get to benefit everybody. And that would be something that would be, they'd like to look at putting in, if we get it, of doing an emergency thing and actually having a plan on who's going to be receiving stuff. So if we get this for future, well, I'd be wanting to meet with everybody and kind of get that in place. So, that's pretty much what I've been really been working on grants and trying to get funding to keep our senior the nutritional program is up about 125%. So, we're putting out, where we used to put out like 700 meals, we're putting out 1,600 meals in the same period of time. So, we've over doubled our account. So, we found out that there's a lot of people that didn't know about these programs in our community. Jonathan from Playport was nice enough, and he had got a list of seniors in our area and was nice enough to send us our section to that. We have a lot of people that are in their high 70s and 80s and 90s, a lot more than what I think we even realized. We have a high percentage of them. So it was where there's a bad, there's a good. The good thing is we've made contact with these people now, and they know that we're here and we're able to provide them services. So I'm hoping that will help with our medical facilities and stuff, because as we take care of them, then the use for them to use our other services, our 911 calls and stuff like that would go down. So it benefits the whole community all when we can help them. So I appreciate everybody that's helped and donated, and Mr. Purdock over here has been awesome to really help me and get a grant for us, and same with our mayor. They help put and fund that. So I'm very lucky to have the councils that I do to come and support our community. So I appreciate you guys stepping up and helping me with that. Thank you. That's really all I got.
Councilmember Harris.
Well, I'll just say that the park, when we call that the or what would we call that? The bandstand? Okay, sorry. I was blanking there. When the bandstand framework went up, oh my goodness, what an exciting thing to see. It's really exciting to see that stuff happening. So there's just really positive things happening, and the growth that's taking place I'm very excited about. Not a lot of meetings and stuff going on. The one thing I do want to talk about is, of course, the COVID-19 thing. Obviously, there's not a lot we can do here locally, but I just want to express the sentiment of local business owners. While we may be seeing an uptick in the sales through corporate-owned businesses and large-scale businesses that are owned semi-locally, but not locally, people who actually own businesses in Clear Lake and live in Clear Lake are hurting, and they're hurting on a way they've never hurt before. And I think any further restraints that we have on them, or the length of time that we continue to have restraint placed on them in any way, shape, or form is going to, it just they'll never recover. And we have obviously we all have an effort here to expand small business, and that's ultimately what employs the majority of the people in our community. And this is incredibly impactful to the people of our community, and whatever we can do as a body to try to make this thing go away as fast as possible, I would appreciate that. I will say that I personally adamantly disagree with any restrictions placed on the business owners. I think that it should be up to the patrons of that business and the business owner to take the necessary steps to protect themselves when they walk into a business. I don't understand how a place like a big box store standing next to people and looking like cattle makes any difference when you can't go in and go to a small locally owned business. It doesn't make sense, but thank you.
Well said, Councilmember Harris. I agree with your sentiments. Councilmember Purdock.
Well, I concur with you both. Things I've been seeing, just like to report out and shout my thanks to those who are seeing and doing weed abatement, both on our corridors coming in and out of town, Lakeshore Drive and Olympic especially, but also those responsible property owners that are getting ready for summer and cutting the weeds down or spraying. Also wanted to recognize food distribution going on at Austin Park. They have a drive-through program, I believe, through Redwood Food Service or Food Bank that's really been helping people that have had shortages, and that's been a good program, what I've heard so far. Mr. Mayor, I'll defer the Lake APC and Transit report.
Go for it.
Although I did participate in that meeting yesterday. I thought it went very well, very smoothly. To report out on the PEG board, I apologize for not reporting on this last month. In April, our meeting for next week has been postponed. But in April, City Manager Flora met with us, and collaboratively, we've decided that we will invest, the PEG board will invest in the bandstand and equipment for, that will make that probably one of the premier as far as public venues, with speakers, microphones, all the equipment that I really am not know much about, but understand that we're going to be purchasing it. And the city would be providing the cabling system that would go out to the mixing board. So we may not be as fancy as Konocti once was when they had their open concerts, but I do know that we will be one of the better venues around the county. And from the PEG board perspective, the equipment that we'll be purchasing will also be used or could be used in other locations, say for the Pear Festival in Kelseyville, or Middletown Days, or Upper Lake Days. So we could record and provide
or Lower Lake Days.
Or Lower Lake Days. I apologize for that. But I also like your ideas about the camera system. And I know people who have vacation homes here who, with COVID-19, are staying, but they're watching their videos and envious of us and wanting to get up to the lake when they can. So I like those ideas, and I can bring that to our next PEG board meeting and get it on the agenda. And with that, I'll close.
Thank you, Councilmember Purdock. Vice Mayor Slotin.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I really don't have a whole lot to report on. We had, I already commented on the LAFCO meeting, and we have not had a marketing committee meeting, so really nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor Slotin. As Councilmember Purdock said, we did have an APC LTA meeting earlier this week, and really not a lot there. The Corridor 53 study is ongoing. They added Mike Dean to that local committee to join Mr. Flora and others that are on it. You probably might be able to give some perspective on it if you care to, but at any rate, that's going on. They are looking at doing some traffic counts, which, of course, they're considering the doing of them right now would probably be skewed, so they're looking at maybe putting those off until things are back closer to a normal type of a traffic flow. Also had a Lake Links meeting. The big item here, and probably our most biggest item, of course, is Carl Parker, our mobility manager, had agreed, I think I might have mentioned it last meeting, was going to step down at the end of his contract on July 1st or June 30th. He has asked to be released early from that contract as of May 15th, which is precipitating an emergency meeting tomorrow. We have interviewed one person for a combined position of CEO and mobility manager. Right now, we have a contract CEO that would step back to a contract consultant rather than the CEO once this position is filled. And we're excited about filling this because this gives a little bit more local control and perspective to what's going on. The person that we've interviewed is actually works in Houston, Texas at the moment, although she is from Modesto. We have the period open for taking applications closes tomorrow, and we have not received any other applicants that I'm aware of. This person is well suited, we believe, to the position. Of course, she hasn't specifically been in a mobility type position, but we have a lot of in-house talent that can help and train her, get her through that. She has had quite a bit of management experience. She's also got a lot of energy, and I think is going to do well at that position. So we're looking forward to moving forward on that a little faster than we thought. LARCA, Emergency Relief Fund, was formed here, was actually funded out of our old fire relief fund, and I thought you were going to talk about it, Vice Mayor Slotin, but you didn't, so I will. We have Vice Mayor Slotin is the chairman of LARCA, by the way. We gave earlier on $40,000 to the senior centers in the county, the 4 of them, on a formula determined by what they had done historically before that. We've, in more recent times, Jennifer Strong in Lakeport has started another challenge similar to what the chief was in which people are making donations and will have their name thrown in the hat to be drawn to get certain services from different folks that have put something up. In the case of Jennifer, for instance, a day of teaching them how to can. Not anything at all to do with her business as a financial advisor, but something fun. I think there's a airplane flight around the county is one. There's different businesses are coming in, and we're starting to see quite a few donations coming in. We have about $27,000 in the fund at this moment, and we'll be looking at a few other applications that are coming in. Highland Senior Center has submitted one, and Live Oak and Clear Lake Oaks has submitted one, which I mentioned to you in an earlier email, Vice Mayor Slotin. Hopefully we'll be considering those, and I know you have some others that we want to bring up. So hopefully we're gonna continue to help through this COVID-19 situation and challenges, and perhaps make it easier, at least on some folks. That is all I care to report on at the moment.
Mayor Kramer, I don't usually do a redo, but can I have one?
Ah, shoot.
It won't be that long, but
okay,
there's one really important thing I had on my list that I didn't scroll down far enough that I want to share, and then a couple of thoughts that came up while you were giving your reports, really brief. Councilmember Purdock mentioned the Redwood Food Bank, which has had, multiple offerings here over the last month. They will be moved. Their next one is the 18th of this month. They're going to be moving back down to Redbud Park. And one of the reasons, that was the location that they used to use, and they like that. And one of the other reasons we wanted them to move is because of the mobile testing that's going to start next week over here. So I want to talk about that. But back to Austin Park really quick. Kind of a late breaking thing in talking with the APC is they waited almost too long, but they want to take advantage of our construction project here, and we've been talking with them for a couple of years about a new bus stop and improvements here at Austin Park. And so they decided to go ahead and reimburse the city and hire our city engineer to go ahead and design that and get that constructed. So I think as of today, we have a pretty good idea of what we want that design to look like. So those of you who are involved will see that come back, but that's also another nice little thing that wasn't initially planned, but we'll be able to see some nice.
That was discussed at the APC meeting, and I forgot about it. Thank you for bringing that up.
Also the hub.
And the hub.
Yeah. So mobile testing, so they did Tuesday and today in Lakeport, 2 days of mobile testing, public health. So, there's been a lot of talk in the press about state resources, 80 testing sites across the state. Lake County hasn't been able to attract enough attention to be able to get one of those locations here in Lake County, unfortunately. So public health has been able to kind of, I would say, piece or cobble together the necessary resources for testing kits. And they're starting out trying to do about 50 for each testing site and hoping to ramp up soon to be able to do at least 100 at each of those sites. But they're going to be moving here to Clear Lake next week, so we're going to be utilizing the property across the street, the Austin Resort, on next Tuesday and next Thursday. So there'll be 50 slots available for testing Tuesday and 75 available for Thursday. Tuesday, the dates are 11 to, or the times are 11 to 1. Thursday, I think it's going to be 10 to 2. And anyone can sign up through public health by calling 707-263-8174 and talking to a staff member there and getting registered, or you can email the Mohawk, MHOAC, at lakecountyca.gov. As of late this afternoon, there's still slots available for both days. I don't believe there's any cost associated with it. You just have to register, answer some questions, and then show up at the testing location. And so it sounds like things have went well both days in Lakeport. Both our police department and public works crews will be helping with setup and organization throughout the event. So I wanted to make sure and let the council know about that.
And I think fire is helping with the testing.
In the testing.
Yeah. As long as you brought up the bus stop here, we also discussed the purchase of the property for the bus hub, as I think we talked about last week, or maybe we didn't. LTA was, or APC rather, was successful in a grant of $13 million, which will build the bus hub. Also buy 4 hydrogen-powered buses. So the county is now in negotiations to sell the parcel that the hub will sit on. Did I miss anything, council member?
I think you did it now. Covered it.
Okay, thank you. So where are we? We're done.
Future items.
No, we're not done. I knew that. Are there any future agenda items that any of the council would like to suggest, bring up? Councilmember Overton, any? Councilmember Harris? Councilmember Purdock?
Well, as a matter of fact, one of the things that I think that we as public servants, that's all we can do is offer help and provide that service to our community. And one of the things that I've been paying attention to, both in social media conversations and things, is perhaps the availability of offering. I met with Chief White and General Manager or City Manager Flora about offering CCW permits, concealed carry weapons permits, for residents here in the city of Clear Lake. And I would like consensus for that process to be vetted out, that the services could be provided through the city police department. I think our community has time and time again shown their support for our local law enforcement from early on with Measure P, and with fundraisers like our K-9 fundraiser events and things like this. And I just think it's time that we should look at what we can do to give back to, again, focus on our city strategy of making this a cleaner, safer, and better place to live.
Thank you, Councilmember Purdock. I've also had a lot of folks that have asked about the possibility of CCWs. I'm quite frankly considering it myself. And I would love to see that offered here in Clear Lake, as opposed to having to go to Lakeport and all the rigmarole that goes with that. So I would like to see it on the agenda. Is there any other comment on that now?
I'm highly supportive of the CCW program, having mine for the last 10 years. And the only thing I would say, though, is that I don't want it to place any undue stress on our existing strained police force. So if we just want to make sure that whatever program we come up with wouldn't put any undue stress on our existing police force, that would be my only concern. The process is in Lakeport, and I agree with that being a little bit convoluted for some of the citizens here to get over there for that program, but that would be my only concern with it.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Slotin, any comment on that?
No comment on that, but I do like to see sometime in the future, within the next month, some kind of report on the code enforcements. How many houses have we tagged, and how many vehicles did we tag, et cetera, and see how many people have responded and fixing things up. Pretty soon it's fire season again, so I assume we're going to be dealing with that issue again too. So I'd like to see if Chief White can provide us with just some statistics on how we're doing with it.
You're looking for that to be an agenda item, Vice Mayor, or?
Just some kind of
or
report,
just a report
to see how we're doing. Yes, please.
Okay. Sounds like a reasonable thing. Anyone else? I think the consensus is to put the CCW question on a future agenda item and vet it out. And the report on the code, pardon me? You want to do over?
I got to do over.
You want to do over?
Just a couple of minutes.
All right.
It's a doo-doo.
I'm completely losing control of this council.
Yep.
Go ahead, Councilmember Purdock.
I'd just like to
if I ever had it.
Right. I'd like to thank Chief White and all those who have served on our initial traffic safety committee. I was very pleased to see that 3 of the suggestions that were made to the committee have actually come to fruition. That we have some no parking signs up on a very narrow roadway, and I think that's helped the flow of traffic. And a stop sign got moved from a poor location to an excellent location. So I just want to thank you for that. And it's nice to see, that we bring something here and the work gets done. So I apologize for missing that in my report. I wanted to make sure I commented on that.
All right, you're forgiven. All right, is there anything else? Seeing nothing, I shall. What? Okay. I'll adjourn this meeting at 7:37.
See you guys later.
37, yeah, 32.